Welcome to an introduction to accounting and to an illustration on spreadsheets. And in this podcast we are interested in the use of variables. So what we've done here is set up a little sheet which shows us the costs that are involved in producing a number of widgets. And what we're going to do is keep our variables separate from the rest of the calculation. And the number of widgets, well, we need to name this cell. You'll see why in a minute. This makes it much easier to use, and by doing this, can you see it? It's actually picking up the cell contents from the left here, so this makes it a little easier to try and name the cells. So I can do this pretty much all the way around. I can define the fixed costs now in the same way. I can define this cell as being the variable costs per unit. I can define this one as being the selling price, okay, and I can define this one as being the percentage of sales, or number of sales as a percentage. So let's say that I have 500 widgets being produced. What I want this cell to indicate then is the contents of that cell, the number of widgets, which I've just done. I know that my fixed costs, let's say they are 5,000, and that the variable costs per unit are 12. So the costs of the unit produced will be equal to the fixed costs plus, and then it's going to be the total of the number of widgets, which is 500, multiplied by the variable costs per unit, which will be 12. So that's going to be 11,000. Now if the selling price was £36 and I start off with 100% sales, then my income is going to be, right, I'm going to sell 500 multiplied by, actually let's get it right. Our income is going to be equal to the number of widgets, 500, multiplied by 100%. So that's the number sold multiplied by the selling price, which is here. And let me just check that out for our brackets. I think that's okay. So it's going to be £18,000, and our profit is going to be equal to the income minus the cost of the units produced. So that's our little table then for the profit that we're going to make. Let me just knit up a little bit by formatting the cells. I want to put a border around them just to make it a bit easier to see, and similarly I want to put another border around these just to make it easier to see. So here we are. I'll put a border around each cell. Now what's important is that, having set it up as variables, if I then alter this and produce 1,000 widgets, you can see as it automatically calculates all the costs, the income and the profit. If I alter the variable costs per unit, it will make a corresponding calculation there. It'll tell me again that my costs have increased there, and this will reduce my profit, right? If I alter the selling price, let's alter the selling price to 30. You can see my profit is coming down. And similarly, what happens here if we take that to 80%? Well, you can see that what happens then, if we're only selling 80% of the units produced, that our profit starts to fall. Let's produce our widgets and sell only 70%, and suddenly you can see we are only making 2,000 profit. So the advantage of this is that I can now alter any of these variables that I wish, and I can see the effect that it's going to have on costs, on income, and therefore on profit. Right? It's important when you are constructing spreadsheets of this sort that you try and keep the variables separate from your actual calculations and your output. So what I'm doing is keeping the variables separate here and putting the output indications here. But the other thing that I'm also doing to make it easier is I'm referencing the cells differently. So here you can see what I've called the cell. I called it the number of widgets, and that makes it easier for someone else to follow. Okay, so that's the use of variables in a spreadsheet. Very simple use of variables. Thank you.